Today on Up Front, our swing state shocker, Wisconsin goes red, sending Donald Trump to the White House and Ron Johnson back to the Senate. Next, Johnson on his come-from-behind victory and what he wants to work on with President-elect Trump. Then, Democrats lose rural Wisconsin. State Senator Kathleen Vinehout on how Democrats can start connecting with voters outside the state's largest cities. And could either of these Wisconsin notables end up in the Trump administration?
Covering the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Up Front with Mike Goucher.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Up Front. It was an election that stunned the state. For the first time since 1984, a Republican presidential candidate won Wisconsin. And for the first time since 1980, a Republican won a U.S. Senate race in a presidential election year. Trailing in the polls throughout the fall, GOP nominee Donald Trump rode big numbers in the northeastern and central parts of the state to edge Democrat Hillary Clinton by about 27,000 votes. And there was more good news for Republicans. U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, who also never led in the polls, surged at the end to defeat his challenger, former U.S. Senator Russ Feingold. Later in today's program, we'll look at what this election means for Democrats who were hit by a wave they didn't see coming. But we begin with Senator Johnson. I talked with him just hours after his victory last week. Let's talk about what happened on Tuesday night. How do you explain what we saw in Wisconsin and around the country?
You know, Americans look at the federal government. You've heard me ask the question to tens of thousands of Wisconsinites. Do you think federal government's efficient, effective? Nobody raised their hands. They laugh. And so people have been looking for real change. And I think they looked at Secretary Clinton, Senator Feingold. People have been in politics for 30 years. In many respects, had created some of these programs that weren't working, created the mess, and they were really looking for change agents. And I've always said Donald Trump is the political equivalent of a disruptive technology. Certainly I'm a change agent. I'm excited about the opportunity moving forward. Working with somebody else who's come from the private sector, it's a completely different perspective than career politicians. When you're in the private sector, you actually have to accomplish something to succeed in politics. I guess getting elected is the accomplishment, and then you can just kind of ride the thing out, which is why a lot of things don't get done. I want to fix these problems. I think so does Donald Trump, and so I'm excited to be able to work with his administration.
I want to talk to you about some of the things that would be priorities for you, and I'm sure you hope will be priorities for Donald Trump. But just a couple more points. Do you think the party has been fundamentally changed by the Trump phenomenon? Is it a different Republican Party today than it was a year or two ago?
Yes. I think Donald Trump's appeal to, working class men and women, unlike, Republicans have been able to in the past. I certainly like to think I've been able to do that. I've provided jobs to working men and women. I'm a working man myself. So I think that was very positive. Let's face it, I'm for free and fair trade. But these deals have not worked out too well. We certainly do get taken advantage of. So, I'm happy to have President Trump negotiate a better deal, but it's also important for overseas markets to stay open. But, he recognized that. He tapped into that. So hopefully we can move forward with that discussion in a pretty honest and forthright manner and make sure that America doesn't get taken advantage of.
My final question about your election, your re-election, is there any sense of personal satisfaction because there were some, even in your own party, who were skeptical of your chances back in the summer? Do you feel any special satisfaction from the way things turned out?
I'm still a man on a mission. I did this because I was concerned about this country. I'm more concerned after serving 6 years with President Obama not really addressing these problems. It is nice that the truth prevailed over lies and distortion. The attacks against me, I sold product for 31 years. I'm used to rejection. I've got a very thick skin, but my wife didn't like listening to those things. My kids didn't like listening to me being lied about.
So you're talking about the opportunity you have now. You're going to have a Republican president. You've got a Republican Senate. You've got a Republican House. What's the priority? Where do you want to begin?
Well, you've heard me say this. The number one component of a solution, I don't care what problem you're dealing with, is economic growth. We've got to grow the economy. It's a pretty simple formula from my standpoint. Reduce the regulatory burden. While we maintain worker safety and clean environment, we need regulations, but we've gone way overboard. It's a massive burden, $14,800 per household. We have to reduce that, bring certainty to business investment and job creation and expansion. We've got to have a competitive tax system. Right now we don't. We should be energy independent. Let's utilize our energy resources, keep energy prices low. Healthy economy will allow you to have the kind of pollution controls, keep a clean environment. So those are the main elements. Once you have a healthy economy, we'll have the resources to save Social Security, save Medicare, by repealing Obamacare, put forward, actually free market reforms, defeat ISIS, secure our border. All these things are important. And again, we, from my standpoint, we save the Supreme Court. We will now nominate and confirm judges, not liberal activists, super legislators who are more concerned about the result they want as opposed to, what does the law actually say? How is the Constitution really written?
I'm wondering are you confident that he's the right guy to get the things you just discussed done?
He was elected by the people. He was elected by Republican primary voters as our nominee, and now he's been elected by the American people. So, I said whoever is president, I was going to work in good faith, and I tried to do this with President Obama to solve these problems. But again, I'm encouraged. Being a business person, going to Washington, D.C., I see this dysfunction. I see the fact that there are far too few people that actually even participate in the private sector. They don't understand how their rules, their regulations, all these laws they create burden businesses and prevent them from expanding and creating the good paying jobs and opportunities that everybody's looking for. So I'm just really looking forward to have that business person's perspective in the White House. Mike, we haven't had that. Have we ever had it? If we can succeed in reducing regulatory burden, standing up a competitive tax system, I think they'll be amazed at how the animal spirits of entrepreneurs will just come bursting forth. And we can really start growing this economy, have it reach its full potential very quickly.
Something you've talked about a lot, and the president-elect talked about it a lot. Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, what's going to happen?
It'll be repealed.
Soon? Quickly?
I hope so immediately. I hope so many of these executive orders can just be, again, they're issued by a stroke of the pen. They can be repealed by the stroke of a pen. So we repealed Obamacare. We put that on President Obama's desk. He vetoed it. But remember, Paul Ryan has worked and developed a Better Way agenda through the House. If the legislation hasn't already been written, it's very close to being written. It can be passed very quickly, and we've got a full replacement plan for Obamacare that really relies on free market competition to restrain the growth in prices. And let's face it, it's a free market that drives increased quality and increased access as well. So that's the right direction. That's the direction the American people chose. So hopefully we can find people on the Democratic side of the aisle and in the Senate to work with us and pass this as quickly as possible.
Senator Ron Johnson, the Republican from Oshkosh, who was reelected to office in Tuesday's election. Senator, it's good to have you back on the program.
Thanks for having me on.
Coming up next on Upfront, Democrats out of power. How do they start connecting again with working class and rural voters? I'll ask State Senator Kathleen Vinehout. That's when Upfront continues.
Upfront with Mike Goucher, brought to you by the American Transmission Company and the Wisconsin Corn Growers Association.